Hello, everybody. How we doing today? Man, one of those Mondays, huh? Okay. Guys, it's game week finally. Let's go. Mike fired up. BJ? Johnny, let's go. I'm shocked you guys are standing up doing some chants right now. It's game week. Good. I expect that after this too, Johnny. Let's go. It's game week, man. But guys, I appreciate you guys as always being here. Really proud of where our team is to right now. Just finished bonus week after fall camp. Proud of where we're at fall camp. Still got stuff to continue to work on and improve on. And no different now as we step into game week. We have a team meeting later tonight with our team. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. The prep is not finished. In order to play confident and fast, you have to prep like it. And that's what we need to continue to do in every moment we have to have the right and earn the opportunity to go win game one. We haven't won game one here in a while. And especially on the road, we haven't won in a while. And so that is the message of the team, and that is what we've been working for this entire offseason. And stepping to game week, we now have to put the work in the prep to make sure we go get that done. And obviously, it's a tall task. So I'm proud of where our team is, but we're fired up to continue to work our tails off to earn the right to have a shot to go win game one. So, going out to play Georgia Southern, Clay Helton, I think the world of. I know our whole staff does. He's coached at an extremely high level everywhere he's been. He's a phenomenal offensive mind as well as a head coach. Has, like I said, done it at a high level for a long time. I know a lot of guys that have worked for him over the years, and they cannot say enough good things about Clay Helton, who he is, how he runs the program. And obviously he always finds a way to win wherever he's at. And for us, being able to travel across the country, it's a long travel time we're going through, deal with the elements. Georgia Southern's fan base does a phenomenal job. That place will be packed. It will be rocking, playing with a lot of guys that have played there. They're like, you better be ready for the crowd noise because Georgia Southern's fan base will be showing up in a major way. And I respect that a lot about their program. They've been extremely successful at every level they played in, and there are a lot of similarities from them to us. And so, it's going to be a hostile environment that we have to be ready for. The heat, the humidity, we got to be ready for. We're working our tail off, but that's coming. So there's a lot of things that we know we got to be ready for going down there. They were 5-1 at home last season, which is a testament to obviously the plan the coaches put in order, but a testament to that fan base. The crowd noise, the hostile environment they create down there is going to be something that we have to make sure we're ready for. So we know the task at hand. We got to find a way to win game one, and Georgia Southern's working their tail off, do the exact same thing. And so fired up for Saturday at 4 o'clock. And we will be ready. So looking at, really all three phases, starting with special teams, they got a couple elite returners. And so that's something we've been working on a ton. Coach Collins has put a great plan together, but they got a couple returners that can go the distance at any point, at any time. And they play their tails off on special teams. They've been able to create a lot of explosive plays via special teams. So it's stuff that we got to be ready for. On the offensive side, they've been a successful offense. They threw the ball a ton last year. Were very successful from everything we've been researching and looking at. They want to be more balanced. Coach Helton and his offensive staff has always done a phenomenal job moving the ball, and they have the guys to do it. They got a tailback in 25 that'll be one of the best tailbacks we see. And they've got number 22 can do it as well. J.C. French, the starting quarterback, number 12, he played last year as well. And he can run, and he can make all the throws. So in that offense, he's going to be able to take off and run some QB design run schemes, but he can also make all the throws. So it's an offense that is going to create a lot of confusion with a lot of different motion adjustments, formations to put defense in conflict, and they got the guys to do it. They also got a receiving core in number 1 and number 2 that can win one-on-ones all day. And they showed that in film against Wisconsin, against a majority of teams they play, that those guys can go out there and win their one-on-ones, which as a defense, we have to take a big step in. And that was a huge point of emphasis this offseason, is eliminating explosive plays and doing a much better job in eliminating it run-wise and pass-wise as a defense. Flipping over to their defense, they did a great job creating turnovers last year. I think they had 28 takeaways, which is a great job by their defense. That defense plays hard. They got 8 returning starters. They brought a great group of transfers in on defense and on offense, so there's still some unknowns about kind of how they're going to use some of these transfers. But they did a good job hitting the portal on O&D to really even kind of boost that. But with 8 returning starters on defense, number 1, their Mike linebacker, he's a big-time player. He's all over the field. They got some DBs that can lock down. In the front 4, they are relentless. I think that's a lot of the reason they created those 28 takeaways, is they do a great job creating confusion, and they get to the football. I love how they play the game. So the task is there for us. I'm proud of where our team is. I can't wait to get into game week with our team and attack it. Everything we do is earn the right to win game one. We have to do that. That is an action that you have to do, from how you're in the training room to how you walk through to how we install to how we go through practice to how we handle this travel, how we're hydrating, how we're going through what we eat, how we're handling ourselves on the road. Everything is earning the right to have an opportunity to win game one. And that's what I'm excited for our team to do. There's been a lot of hype in the offseason about our team. There's a lot of guys that deserve that. Now we got to go put on film. And with hype, it only puts a bigger target on your back. And at Boise State, you embrace that. But now it's our job as coaches and players to go earn the right to go win game one.
Well, the guys last week were mentioning it. You just mentioned it. It's been a few years since you guys have won game one. Just how hungry is this team to start 1-0?
Yeah, every game matters. You got to win your first one. And I know Coach Helton's saying the same thing to his team. And I know every coach around the country is saying the same thing. You got to win game one. And there's unknowns on either side of the ball, from how our recruit's going to play into, where's depth chart's going to be. At the end of the day, at 4 o'clock, that ball is being kicked off, and we got to be ready to go.
What gives you the confidence, Spencer, that you've seen in this building with these players that they know 1-0 is just everything right now?
Yep. I've seen them work since January towards this goal, Johnny. I've seen them when there's snow out on the blue, and this game was 8 months or 9 months away, and I saw them work. Now, there's been a lot of things that we've needed to grow in every single day to this point. Like I said, this is game week. We still got things we got to continue to work and grow in. But I've seen them work when no one's watching. I've seen them work in the dark, and I know here coming soon that's going to come to light. What that means for our entire team, we got to keep fine-tuning it. But I'm proud of how our guys have worked, put their head down, and focused on the little things, because that's what it is. It's everybody wants to make the big-time play in the game, whatever that is on all three phases. But are you going to do the little – because you don't know when that's coming. You don't know when the biggest play is going to be right there. And have you trained yourself to win that opportunity? Because that's the biggest thing I talked with our team about recently is it's the pain of regret or the pain of discipline. You're going to have to learn through one of two. My goal is that we never have to learn through the pain of regret. Oh, I wish I would have practiced more. I wish I would have watched more film. I wish I would have handled my business here. No, let's learn through the pain of discipline. When that alarm hits, you're up. You're here. You're in the building. You're in the training room. You're getting done what you need to, and that's hard, so you don't got to live with the regret of not playing the way you want to. And I'm proud of our team growing there. We're not there yet, but we're pushing forward to it. I'm proud of our leaders stepping up and pushing us forward to make sure we have the right to go win game one.
You know, after 8 months of kind of bringing Ashton along and kind of keeping him healthy, keeping him safe, and not letting him get tackled,
Yep.
How eager are you to just turn Ashton loose on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Ashton. I'm excited for our whole team, BJ. But even in regards to Ashton, we were smart with the situations we put him in. But you come to practice, I mean, Ashton Genty's been working his tail off. I mean, it's definitely not been a bubble wrap situation for him. We are smart in some of the live situations with him just because, especially as a tailback, you don't know who potentially could be in a bad situation. But my man has worked his tail off in practice. He's significantly one of the higher guys on the GPS loads. I mean, he's ready for game one, and he's worked his tail off to earn that right.
And White, really good running backs for them. What are their styles? Maybe how do they compare and contrast with our one?
Yeah. I mean, both of them do a really good job. I mean, number 25, I think it was close to 1,000 yards last year. What I love about both of them is they can make you miss and take the distance, or they can go through you too. They got a lot of different run schemes to attack our defense that we got to be sound and fit up. But with the running backs they have, you might have it all fit up and it looks really good on paper, but can you actually make that tackle? I mean, you watch the week 0 games, and I was talking to our team about this. The teams that won tackled really well on defense. The teams that didn't tackle well and had a lot of penalties. So those are the things, the point of emphasis for our defense this week is obviously being sound, eliminating explosive plays. We have to tackle well. And especially with those two backs, they're going to put them in empty. They're going to move them around everywhere. We got to be able to tackle in space.
Named your starting quarterback a little over a week ago. Camera, why did Maddox Madsen win that job, and what is the single best attribute that gives you guys a chance to win against Georgia Southern with him?
Yeah. Going through all fall camp, and Maddox and Malachi, like I've told before, did a great job. We got two really good quarterbacks. Made the decision for Maddox to be our starting quarterback. He earned it, and he gives us the best opportunity to win game one. He's a master of our offense. He understands how to run it. He understands how to get the ball in playmakers' hands, and he's smart with the football. He knows what it takes to win game one. What I love about Maddox is he is a big-time competitor. Malachi is as well. Like I said, I got to give Malachi's done a great job, and his number is going to be called at some point this season, and I know Malachi will be ready. He's working his tail off too. But right now, going into game one, Maddox Madsen has deserved the right to be our starting quarterback with how he's played, how he's led, and I trust him. And I know he's going to go out there and make right decisions. He's not going to be perfect, doesn't need to be. No player on our team is going to be perfect. but he's going to stay in the fight. He's going to keep swinging, and he's going to lead our team in every facet, not just offense. He's a leader in our team.
It'll be the first time in his career that he's gone into game week being able to start. Because, I mean, last year it wasn't until I think the day before the game. Just how is he kind of, taking that all in and really appreciating the moment?
Yeah, he is a calm, cool, collected young man. I mean, that's what I love about Maddox. He never gets too high with the high or low with the lows, and he's a very consistent competitor. You know what you're going to get from Maddox every single day. He's going to prep his tail off. He's going to do exactly what he needs to for this team and our offense to be successful, and he's been no different. He's always been the hunter, where he's the number 2 trying to go get the job. Now he's the guy that other people, he's the one that's being hunted. But my message to him is don't ever look behind. Don't ever look behind your shoulder and see, I hope I don't lose my job. Go be the best quarterback in the country. Go attack some of those things. Go be the best for our team. Don't worry about who's behind you. Don't worry about making mistakes. I'm not a coach that wants our guy to fear failure. I want to attack success. I tell our team all the time, we do not fear failure. We attack success. You fail in a situation, learn from it, grow from it, and keep attacking success. That's who we are. That's the only way to play this game, is not being afraid of making mistakes. Go attack success. And Maddox has done that. He has not been perfect. There's a lot for him as a redshirt sophomore that Coach Koetter, myself, are working with him to continue to grow in. But nobody wants to improve more than Maddox in every phase, and he's ready for this moment. I'm excited for him.
In terms of Malachi, outside of being ready for his number to be called, what specific chores will he have on Saturday for 3 hours during the game?
Yeah, he's going to, all the way up until game time, he's prepping to be ready. And that's for all positions, but especially a quarterback at number 2, is who knows when his opportunity is going to be called. God forbid something happens to Maddox. Something's going sideways. Like, he's got to prepare himself to be ready to play, and that is his job. That's exactly what our team needs him to do on Saturday, to be locked in. How's the game going? That's also something in any position. Could be on defense, could be the second team quarterback, is I'm so locked in this game that the second my number gets called, whenever that comes, I know how the game's going. I know how we're being attacked from their defense, and I can go in and make the plays that this team needs me to make when my number gets called. And he's done a great job to this point. He's been in here early, getting prepped and ready. So when his number does get called, he'll be ready to go.
I was talking to Chris Marshall last week, and he just kind of said, hey, you realize this is his last chance. How have you seen him on the field, off the field, since he's been here, and just his mindset, talking about what his, having a child now and just everything that he's dealing with? How have you noticed him taking advantage of this opportunity?
Yeah, with Chris, we talked, even going through the recruiting process with him, getting to know him really well, and understanding that it's our job as coaches to create structures for every single one of our players to be successful. And here, we don't formulate our culture for individuals, no different for coaches. This is us. This is what we expect to be a part of this football team. How we handle meetings, how we handle the treatment room, how we handle practice. This is what we do as a Boise State football team. And since Chris has came here, he's worked his tail off to do that every single day. He's done a great job in the classroom. He's done a great job in the things that's like, hey, this is mandatory to be a part of this, because he knows this is his shot. And he's got to make every opportunity count, and he's done that. And he's learned through pain. He's learned through the regrets in the past, and he's changed how he is. He's still got a long way to continue to grow and work. That's the beautiful part about me as a coach. That's why I coach, is every player in our team still has a long way to continue to grow and develop. These guys are 18 to 23 years old. I promise you I wasn't a finished product from 18 to 23, and it's my job as a coach to keep presenting where we're pushing them to. Where are we chasing? And Chris has done a really good job with it. He's an extremely talented young man in all phases, and seeing him handle the little things, from how you prep to how you get your body ready to play this game, he's done a really good job. And I'm proud of where he's going, and he's only going to continue to get better week to week.
Receiver room feels like you got 5 or 6 interchangeable pieces. Is there a game plan with that, where you're telling 6 guys all be ready, you're all going to play the same, or do you have to trim that down a little bit?
Yeah, Coach Koetter and Coach Miller have done a really good job. We've got a bunch of different groupings and ways to make sure all these guys get a shot at making plays in this game. And because we are blessed to have a really deep group right now. And then now, who is going to put it on film in a game? Who is going to attack it at a level that makes plays and it puts a defense in conflict? So it's a really good place for us to be right now, Johnny. And obviously after game 1, we'll continue to evaluate, hey, who stepped up? Who do we need to get the ball to more? Who deserves more reps? You're consistently doing that through the season to make sure your best players on the field.
After the last scrimmage, you mentioned 2 safeties, Bowen Phelps and Bryce Cleve. Just both walk-ons, both guys who are playing behind a deep rotation of safeties. What's impressed you about them, and what do you expect to see from them this season?
Yeah, both of them have done a great job through fall camp. I mean, Bryce Cleve has done a great job, not only defense, having to play multiple positions in the back end, but he's going to be a huge player for us on special teams as well, and he's earned that right. I mean, Bowen Phelps is a guy as a redshirt freshman that did some good things through spring ball, and you're excited about him. But, I mean, he came on the scene so strong in fall camp. I mean, you ask any one of our players on our team, Bowen Phelps, and they'll be very impressed with what he has put on film. And he's going to have a big part defensively as well as on all of our special teams units because he's earned the right to. He's played really well in fall camp, and I'm excited for him to play his first game as a Bronco coming up here in a couple days.
You mentioned, this program takes that blue collar mentality. How do they kind of define that?
Yeah, we've got multiple guys on our team that were walk-ons that were put on scholarship and kept working their tail off. I mean, Alexander Tubner's one that's used a lot, Tyler Crow, Jonah Dalmas, and that's what this place has been built on. And some guys, it's not just the guys that came in as walk-ons that earn scholarships or guys that have the blue-collar mentality. Those are the guys we look for when we recruit. This could be a guy that's recruited from everywhere in the country. I want the guy that wants to outwork people because that's the guy that is going to be here, but in a year he's going to be here 2 years, 3 years. As a developmental program, the only way to develop someone is if they want to be developed, if they want to be the best they can be with their actions. Everybody's going to tweet about it and talk about it. That's blue collar to me. I want to outwork people in every single thing I do. And then maybe that doesn't mean they're a big player as a freshman. That's okay. But by the time they're sophomores or juniors, they're going to be a player that has a huge impact on our team because they earned it. And Bowen Phelps, Bryce Cleveland, I could go through multiple guys in our team that have that blue-collar mentality to earn that right. And that's what we're trying to continue to breed throughout our entire team because that's why this facility and this place was built on that blue-collar mentality.
You talked a little bit about the week one performances over the last few years. I mean, there was one point in time where that was the identity of this program. Tech, Georgia, like Boise State was the team that was ready to go. So as you kind of assess the last couple of years, like what was the thing that you felt like you guys might be missing right out of the gate? Or what was the thing that, is there anything that stood out that you wanted to address that would give you a better shot to like start better?
Yeah, Jay. I mean, they're all off seasons things. Me, Coach Hilgard, our strength coach, OD special teams. We look at to see how can we start fast. And obviously, in years past, opponents varied. You know, from Washington last year to Oregon State to UCF to different opponents throughout the years. But so much for me is, are we ready and are we playing fast? Those are the two things that I hit our staff on is I want to make sure game one, when we watch our team, we know our team is ready and they are playing fast. And those are the things that we looked at from all facets to how we train, to how we develop into the summertime, through how we practice, because it is both sides. Game one is you can have a team that is fast and fresh, but if you haven't practiced and you're not ready, this football, you can't pretend this game. Like it is, the only way to get good at football is playing football. And so it is that fine balance that we've done a ton of research through to make sure we believe this was the best plan going forward. And then after game one, we'll be able to evaluate and see how was it. And if whatever, it's not going to be perfect on Saturday, whatever doesn't go well, we got to look back and see, okay, next fall camp, we got to work this more. This is something we missed. So we can constantly evaluate to make sure, because winning game one for everybody across the country is pivotal.
Spencer, the last couple of years, something weird has happened with Boise State football that doesn't really happen around here an awful lot through coaching changes, in-season coaching changes, quarterback juggling, 6 losses last year. For some fans, there's been a loss of trust with the Boise State football coaching office, not personnel, but just the office itself. Winning obviously cures a lot of things, but how do you fix that? How do you bridge that gap?
Consistency. And that's something that I believe as not only the leader of this program, our staff as leaders to these young men, is we have to be consistent. We can't ask our players to be consistent every single day with their process, their urgency if we're not. And it starts with me. And that's something I talk to our team a lot about is if I'm not modeling what I'm asking for my players, I am a liar. I'm asking them to do something that I'm not doing. And so I completely agree with what's going on with this program over the years. And it's my job to fix it. It's my job to make sure that we continue to grow and push new heights. Bronco Nation deserves that. And it starts with consistency for my seat. And I got to do a good job with modeling. I'm high energy intense all the time. And just make sure that even days that maybe something comes up, frustration, anxious, whatever it might be, like I will and focus on to be the exact same for our players and everything we do, because that's what I believe God's called me to this place to do, is to develop champions. And the only way to do that is to build the trust by being consistent every single day. And I think from that breeds consistency with the staff. They're going to then be consistent with our players, and they're going to see us being steady. It's not going to be perfect. In football, you got to adjust. You got to adapt. How are we going to adjust and adapt when something goes wrong on Saturday? Because it will. If we're consistent and we stay the course, that's how you create championship teams.
Defense, explosive plays. I mean, they're top 15 in the country in passing offense last 2 years, 300 yards a game.
Yep.
Obviously, last year that was a struggle for you guys at times, pass defense. I mean, you've added some new corners, got some returners back in the safety. But how do you look at that challenge? And is that a nice test right out of the gate for the pass defense?
BJ, it's a huge test. I mean, leaving last season, the three main things we had to improve defensively, there's a lot of things, but the three main ones, pass defense gave up way too many explosive plays. Huge explosive plays pass-wise. Third downs, did not get off the field on third down. A lot of them were explosive pass plays. And the third thing was tackling, which Georgia Southern does very well. So it's going to be a really good test for our defense right out the gate to see, have we done a good job with our tackling? Have we done a good job fighting our tail off to make sure we eliminate these explosive pass plays? And do we get off the field on third down? It's a great test because, like I said, on the flip side, Georgia Southern does those three things really well.
Describe the Tim Tebow experience in this building.
It was surreal for me. And it was something, even with not to get any intricacies, me and Mike actually talked about it a little bit. Like, I didn't even know till he came to practice that we were going to get it done. It's a testament to him, to his support staff, because he flew in to do the event and then he left right after. And it was something that I was able to talk to him on the phone, I think the day prior. And he's like, Spence, I'm going to try, but I don't know. There's a lot of logistics. I'm like, I get it. Would love you. Here's our practice time. If you can come out and talk to our team, it would mean the world to me. And so I said, Charlotte, keep your phone on you. If he comes over, be ready. And big old Tim Tebow, 260 pounds in a tight polo, came out. Everybody was just like, there's Tim Tebow. And he did a phenomenal. I mean, when you listen to somebody and you watch him, he's one of the greatest college football players I've ever seen in my entire life growing up. And when you see something, I listen to a lot of the stuff he talks about. He's even better in person. I mean, being around him, the humility he had, the leadership, what he spoke to our team about just struck right to the heart about what passion and conviction really means to a football team and what it takes, what maybe he regretted from his playing years. I mean, it was straight gold. I mean, I assumed he was going to be phenomenal. I mean, he was a 10 out of 10 in every way. It was awesome.
You back at the beginning of fall camp, you said the true freshmen would be able to have a chance to fight for a spot. So who kind of emerged out of fall camp that's, first-year person on campus that you feel like can impact this team pretty right away for that matter?
Well, first off, guys, Sire Gaines is going to have a huge role in this game, and he deserves it. And not only offensively, but also on special teams. I mean, Sire Gaines has earned the right to have a huge freshman year because he's put the work in since January to now. Another guy that came through the summertime is Cam Bates. I mean, Cam Bates has done a really good job. He's going to be a weapon for us on offense as a true freshman. And not only from special teams to offense, I mean, Cam Bates has done a really good job to this point. Defensively, a guy that's done some really good things too is Roman Kaywood. And he's a guy that I think will have a part of this game plan, special teams wise. And just like anything on the edge, sometimes you go through some practices where he gets banged up a little bit, but I mean, his ceiling's high and he's done a really good job. There's a couple other guys that are going to show up on special teams as true freshmen. Travis Anderson, Clay Martineau, a couple guys that came in that are going to have a role because they've earned that right to put on film and do a good job. So I'm excited for those guys to continue growing about. And there's going to be some true freshmen that won't play at all game one, but we will need them game 8. And that's the biggest thing that I talk to our team about, especially with the redshirt rule of being able to play in 4 games. I don't talk to guys anymore about, hey, you're a redshirt, you're not. Go earn the right to be on special teams. Go earn the right to be somewhere in one of these packages on O&D, and then we'll cross the bridge when it gets to after the 4 games you played in to make the best decision for you and your future. But compete in everything you do and earn the right.
You talked a lot about Sire. It just seems like he continues to exceed expectations in every way. Like when you look at like what you throw at a guy like Ashton and what Sire can handle, I'm not comparing the two ability-wise, but just like in terms of what you could ask Sire to do, like how much can you ask him to do at this point?
You could ask Sire to do a lot. And I haven't met in my time many true freshmen wired the way Sire Gaines is. I mean, you talk about a guy that my biggest job in Sire's life is to make him almost have a life outside of football because he loves this so much and wants to help the team more than anything. He's the guy that has a bad rep, and it's like it kills him, which as a coach, you love that. You love that he cares about this team so much, wants to be elite, wants to be great, and doesn't just want it, but once again, puts the work in to actually do it. And he's been that way since he walked on campus in January. In the wintertime when no one even knew who this Sire Gaines kid is from Orange Vista High School, and he's done it since he got here, and he just consistently has earned the right. I mean, you watch every single one of our practice, Sire Gaines is practice tail off. Not perfect. He's a true freshman. He's 17 years old, but he's continually growing every season. So we can put a lot on Sire Gaines, and not only offensively, but also special teams because he's earned it. And stuff that he screws up, he works his tail off to get fixed. And a lot of that is testament to Ashton. It is testament to Coach J-Mo, our running back coach, has done a great job with him. And those guys helping grow him. If he screws something up, he's the guy that's going to be waiting by Coach J-Mo's office to watch the film, to get it fixed, because it matters so much to him to be great and to help our team.
This offseason, your players were not shy about talking about CFP.
Mm-hmm.
I almost expected it to be written in a new goal up here on the wall. As the season starts now, have you talked to them about backing off on that, or do you like that kind of talk even as the season starts?
Right now, as we start season, guys, it's all about game one. And then no different this time next week, it'll be about game two. It's all about our process. And I don't say that to beat a dead horse, Mike. That's what I believe. I believe so much of college football is handling your process. What I mean by that, too, is it's not, well, this game I'm going to do this differently, and then this – because then you live a roller coaster season. As a player, you live a roller coaster career. So this is an example. I don't play well in a game as a player. Oh, next week I'm going to be in there early. I'm going to watch a lot of film. I'm going to be in the treatment room. And then you play good, and then you take your foot off the gas. And then the next week you're kind of feeling yourself a little bit. We're not going to live in that world. I'm all about process. Whatever you do it the same all the time. And working to fine-tune it to make it elite. All the great players have that. And that's what I'm working to with our 115 young men is what is your process? Fine-tune it to be elite and stay with it. If you didn't play well in a game, stick with it. Stay in it. Learn from your failures and how you can make it better, but you don't got to change everything. Stay with your process because that's everything. No different for us as a staff, no different for our team as a whole, is there is a process in place to go out and win game one. Then when we finish with game one, we're going to put our process into place to go win game two. And to your question earlier, Mike, it's my job to be consistent. Correct what needs to be corrected, learn from our failures, attack success.
Questions regarding special teams. Every time this fall camp, we've had James, Jonah, or even Mason come in for an interview. Yep. The entire group has been in there with them, following them around. I know the brotherhood's a big thing, but how special is that camaraderie between the special teams unit? And then the second part of the question is, you've been around football a long time.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen fandom for punters and kickers like you have for what Boise State fans have for them?
I'm going to answer that question first. I have not. I got a JFR and Jonah Dalmas shirt, and I wear it all the time. I can promise you that. I'm a huge fan. But, that group is such a close-knit group. I mean, Tyler Rossa does a great job coaching those guys. Coach Collins putting the plan together from a special teams unit. I mean, Coach Collins does such a great job with our special teams, building the mentality of those units to where if you are a starter on one of our special teams, like that is a huge deal here. And guys are competing their tail off to be one of those. It doesn't matter if you're a starter on O or D. I want to be the right tackle on our punt team. Like it is, he's built that mentality for our special teams unit through everything they do from the drills. And then that bleeds right into our specialist group. Like I said, Coach Rossa does a phenomenal job coaching those guys in the day-to-day, the mind games that it takes with regards to a kicker, blotting things out and how to attack success the right way. But that's a close group, and it's fun seeing them, especially as a group of specialists. You do things differently than someone who's on offense and defense and are held to different standards in regards to practice and what is expected of you. But that's a close-knit group, and they do a great job together, and the expectations are through the roof. That's the awesome part about Jonah and James. I mean, I make no bones about it. Two of the best in the entire country, period, end of story. And leading that with that whole group of what it takes to do that is awesome.
Spencer, I was on the call with Pete Helsing earlier. He mentioned Ashton as a threat. Sorry.
Yep.
Mentioned Ashton as a threat several times. Just the attention he's going to get through the season. How do you make sure he doesn't get taken out of games? You get the ball into his hands for what you need.
Yeah. I mean, Ashton Genty is a threat. and he's put that on film. And it's our job as coaches to make sure he gets the ball and is a threat consistently. It's also our job as coaches to make sure we're smart with when he does and how he does and when he gets his breaks, and that's all a process that we'll walk through. Ashton Genty's deserved the right to be a threat, and he's worked his tail off all offseason to be ready to go game one, and he will be. And then once again, it's our job as coaches to be smart with the packages and rotations to make sure that we keep him that way throughout the entire season. Good question. Appreciate you, fellas. I want a little bit more juice here next week, man. Come on, I'm watching you, BJ. Actually, stay the same. You guys are fired up.
The first time we've got to talk to you since Maddox's been named the starter. Spencer says he gives you the best chance to give you guys a win in week one. What do you think he does that gives you that best shot?
I think he's just a pretty solid player all around. I mean, he's extremely smart. He's an excellent competitor. He knows this system inside and out. He'll get us in and out of the right plays at the right time. He's tough. He's a good leader. He's everything you want your starting quarterback to be.
What is he doing? Maybe play action or the screen game, Dirk, that maybe stands out that interests you? I mean, I know you're probably going to run a few of those throughout the year.
I think the main thing he does in the play action game is have Ashton Genty standing behind him. That's probably the best thing he does.
Gap with him and Malachi, and where's Malachi?
Well, I'm not going to get into that kind of stuff. The gap was this big. I mean, that makes no sense to talk about that.
Spence did say, though, that he feels like Max has mastered the offense. In your eyes, what does it mean to master an offense? Everyone's going to like arm strength and all that stuff. But what does it mean to master an offense?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you ever looked at how many words are in those calls, I mean, there's a lot. You got to be able to rattle that stuff off fast. You got to be able to repeat it. You have to be able to. We're a lot of different things at the line of scrimmage based on what the defense is doing. You have to make quick decisions. You have to be able to communicate it. You have to know what everything means and then what the checks are off of that. So, the verbiage is the same as they used last year. So, he understands that. This is not, we didn't change the verbiage. We changed some of the schemes, but we didn't change the verbiage. So, he probably knows that better than I do, that part of it.
So much attention this fall on protecting the ball, all players, and obviously the quarterback as well. What kind of progress did you see from Maddox in terms of protecting the ball? And I guess a follow-up to that is, if indeed height can be an issue when you're throwing interceptions, how do you coach against that or for that?
Yeah. I think the main thing, like in fall camp where we turned the ball over, is we had a lot of tip balls, not because the quarterback was short, because they went off the receiver's hands. So, I mean, I don't think maybe a couple times, maybe the quarterback didn't see it. I mean, how a quarterback sees a play, whether he's 5'11" or 6'5", I mean, they don't always see it, right? There's traffic out there in between them and the receiver. But we had too many tip balls come off off guys' hands for interceptions. And that's one thing is we threw as a team. As a team, we threw too many interceptions in fall camp. But from a quarterback standpoint, the majority of those were really not the quarterback's fault.
You said Bolt had the best spring of any wide receiver. Can I ask you the same question regarding fall camp? What receiver had the best camp for you?
Yeah, that's a little bit harder to quantify because we had guys in and out of the lineup, guys banged up at different times and held out for a few days here and there. And I think our wide receiver position is extremely deep. I think we have as many of 8 guys that could contribute in a good way to what we're trying to do. But Austin is up there, but Latrell Caples was probably the most consistent in fall camp, mainly because he didn't take any days off and he's in almost every play. Had a huge second scrimmage. You guys didn't get to see that, but he was very impressive in that scrimmage. But I feel good about our receivers as a whole. There's a bunch of guys in there who can make plays.
In-game communication with the helmets, with the quarterback and stuff. How'd that go during camp and going on the road in week 1? How nice is it to have that?
Well, it went fine in camp. We have a different setup, and we use the actual game ones twice in both scrimmages, and we have a different setup for practice. But I don't think it will be a problem. I think when you have the crowd noise of a real game, I noticed the Georgia Tech guy was, in what little of that game I saw, the Georgia Tech guy had his hands over his ears. I'm sure at some point this year, crowd noise will be a factor. But as far as just the mechanics of it, we didn't have any issues with that.
Being in camp, saw Chuck Pagano out of practice.
Yep.
And how much fun are you having? Like, does this still all bring you joy?
We were watching the offensive coaches. We were watching. Chuck's been here a couple of times to practice, and we were doing a low red zone period, and Chuck was standing in the back of the end zone, and the pass was tipped or incomplete or something, and Chuck gave a little fist pump in the back of the end zone. Offensive coaches, we were watching it on the big screen. I said, "What the hell is that?" So I got my phone out and we FaceTime Chuck. I go, "Chuck, that's BS right there. Like, you can't come and root against the offense." And he just said he's a defensive guy at heart. But it's great. It's great to be around these players. These guys. Coach Danielson has done an awesome job building this team, the chemistry that this team has, and we've just got a lot of good guys that work hard. These guys are hungry to learn and they're hungry to compete, which is exactly what you want. And it's fun to be around those guys. I've enjoyed it.
Talk a lot about passion and QB competition. What do you think about the guys in front of those two?
Yeah, I think they're probably the most important 5 guys that we have, because it all starts with them. And I think we've developed a little bit of depth again. Like when you go for as long as we have in a fall camp, there's guys in and out of the lineup, so it forces you. Plus, there's a lot of reps, so your 2s and even your 3s are getting a fair amount of reps in training camp. So I think we've developed some depth there. 4 starters returning, so the experience factor is there. These guys are tough. They're big, strong guys, and they take it seriously. I'm excited to watch them play.
Spencer was just talking about Sire Gaines. The last few years, this program has not been afraid to put true freshmen out there at running back.
Mm-hmm.
What's he do so well that makes him ready to play a role in this offense?
Yeah, Sire, he's impressive. Last year watching from afar, Breezy came on as a backup running back and did a really good job. And Sire, I think, is right in that same realm. Like, he's a guy he doesn't run like a freshman, and he doesn't seem to be afraid of the moment. I mean, he's not out there fumbling around. He knows what he's doing. He's an excellent blocker. He's really improved his receiving. And, since he got here in January, he's gained about 15 pounds, and it's not the kind of 15 pounds that old guys like us don't have. I mean, this is the right 15.
Position. It's been a while since you guys had a player that's consistently generated explosive plays, at least from that spot. What have you seen out of that group? maybe in particular 85?
Yeah, well, Matt Lauder definitely is going to be an explosive player. He is that guy's got huge upside, and I think if you could go back and change time, you probably wished you would have used him a little bit more in the past. Maybe there's a hierarchy in college football. Sometimes older guys play more because they're older guys, but Matt Lauder's a good football player, and we do have decent depth. We're just a little bit thin in numbers at that position overall, but our depth, all the guys that we have can all contribute and will all help us in the game.
Georgia Southern do maybe defensively that maybe might be an issue?
I think you're just a little bit, anytime it's a first game, those guys have been studying themselves all off season. They have a new defensive back coach, and he brought several transfers with him from Kennesaw State, including one that supposedly is going to start at corner for him, maybe more. They have their whole front four back, plus that middle linebacker is a real good player. Number one, he's an excellent player. I think they have good team speed, and they play a lot of man coverage. They played a lot of man coverage last year, which kind of highlights their speed. They have two experienced safeties. Both their safeties are coming back, so they're experienced. They've got good speed. I think every team in college football would like to have their whole front four back, and they're solid there. So you just got the unknown of how much are they going to change scheme wise, and I'm sure they have to wonder the same about us.
You've coached like 147 season openers. Maybe I might be exaggerating.
42 to be exact.
Is that what it is? Is it really 42?
Mm-hmm.
What's the one thing that football teams, regardless of the level, have to guard against on opening weekend from your experience?
I think, everybody goes into opening weekend with a rosy outlook on the season. And I guess the old Mike Tyson line about everybody's pretty fired up until you get punched in the mouth. Like, football's a violent game, and we spend so much time trying to protect these guys from injury because it's a long season. And, you don't go as live as much as you used to in the olden days. And I just think there's adversity around every corner on the road. It's a long trip. It's going to be warm. It's going to be humid. It could possibly be extremely wet. And there's a tendency of people to sometimes look past one team to get to another. There's a lot of pitfalls out there, and you never know. It could be a slip. A ball could take funny bounces. There's just a lot of things that can go wrong. So, you're always kind of just worried about the unknown.
Just Ashton Gentine, just to be able to turn him loose on Saturday, and there's a lot of hype and talk about him, but just to let him get out there on the field and actually play and be the big factor in your offense. How excited are you to call plays for that?
Yeah, no, he's had an awesome camp. I mean, Ashton, he's a heck of a player. He deserves everything he gets because he backs it up with how he works, and he's very productive on the field. I mean, that guy's just so consistent and so solid, strong in every area, blocking, catching, running, and I know Coach Danielson probably mentioned he's been really improved, or I don't know if improved is the right word. He's probably our best leader, one of our best leaders on the whole team.
Building on Ashton, you were in the NFL for such a long time, and once you get that level, obviously guys got to take care of their own business. And all you hear about Ashton is how he really handles his own business in offseason. So what do you think about the position he's put himself in order to have success?
Oh, he's done everything he needs to do. I mean, he's ready to go for sure. And I think the other thing that's important is he's brought other guys along. I think the fact that we were talking about how fast Sire's come along. I mean, not only does Ash help those young guys, but him and Mad Dog missed a connection on a pass the other day. It was actually on Inferno Day, and we had Inferno Day. I mean, that was no joke in that indoor the other day. It was like 90 degrees, and at the end they had missed on a pass. They stayed out there after, and Ashton made Mad Dog stay out there, and it wasn't a short pass either. It was a long pass. So they ran a few extras after on their own. So that just shows what kind of guy he is.
You're going to be on the field Saturday, right? Normally?
I am not.
You're up top this year?
That's correct. I just see the game better. It's, I could do a better job up there than I could on the field. You guys are the only ones that can see it perfect from the field. I can't. Hey, I'm honest about it.
Everybody good? Doing great.
About their offense and obviously some returning production at running back and receiver.
Yeah, I think, you look at those guys, and obviously they threw the ball a lot last year, but I think their running game is really, really good. I know they've talked more about being balanced attack, and I can see why. They've got 2 good running backs, really 3. And they do some nice things with the running game. In the running game, they're always going to try to gain an extra gap on you. So add that with their pretty substantial passing attack, and they have a great offense. They do a great job of motioning and shifting to create angles, getting an extra gap in the run game, hiding some of their splits and tendencies in the pass game. And there's always going to be a trick play that you got to have your eyes clean for. So they do a really nice job offensively.
I mean, they're over 300 yards each of the last 2 years under Clay Helton, and I would say at times pass defense was a struggle for you guys last year. I mean, how big of a test right out of the gate is this?
Yeah, I think this is a great first game for us and a not so great first game. It's not so great because you're defending a really, really, really good offense, but it's a really good game because you're going to see – I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot more throughout the rest of the year that we haven't already had to get prepared for, that they've done at some point during last year. So it's really good for us to have seen all those different motion shift, changing our tools and our pass coverage just to get that thing dialed up. Now you'd like to have one under your belt that, maybe didn't pass for as much last year, but it's a great game to set the rest of the year off.
Not a lot of film on their quarterback, but from all accounts, it seems like he's a true dual threat QB. Just what are the challenges of facing a quarterback like that has those talents that you really haven't seen much from?
Yeah, I mean, it's not only just like you said, it's working their offense from last year, but then also working some things in anticipation for some quarterback runs because like you said, he is a dual threat guy. He can pull the football. They can make some design quarterback runs along with him. And then, their backup, which I assume will be their backup, Dexter Williams, he's a really good athlete as well. We got film on him from Indiana. He can really run around. So I think there's going to be some element of quarterback run that we definitely have to get ready for, even though they may have not shown as much of that on film last year.
Last time we talked to you, you told Prater and myself that, you wanted to put your own spin on this defense. After fall camp, I mean, were you able to do some of that? And what is kind of the Chinander spin on this defense a little bit? Like any type of your own incorporations that maybe they didn't do last year that now you can because you're the DC.
Yeah, and I think that some of that is maybe to people that aren't in the building is not going to be a huge departure when you're watching it on film. But I think not just me, but our coaching staff did a really good job in the offseason of taking and anytime you're a defensive coordinator for a long time, like Coach Danielson was, and he kind of had been in this system. So it was a lot of defense, a lot of different things being pulled into one. And I think what we did a really good job of, and our coaches did an unbelievable job of helping this out, was streamlining that whole big package and eliminating some calls or maybe combining some calls so the kids can operate a lot faster. And so I think that's the number one tweak. And then with that, additions, just adding a few things that me and Coach D had already talked about before he became the head coach, just some new things we want to get going on third down and maybe some of the pressure packages that way. But really it was more about streamlining the system and making it more user friendly for the players.
your two starting linebackers, when healthy, they've been crazy productive at times. What stands out to you about those two? And they've been here for a while. They know each other. They have some continuity working for them. So what stands out to you about those guys?
Yeah, I mean, and they're a little bit different players. Drew is going to be more of a true flash guy. Like, he's going to make those big plays, and he has a great nose for the football, and he can accelerate quickly, and he's done that over a period of time. And Marco is going to be one of those guys where it's always going to be in the right spot, always going to have the front set. He's going to be a great tackler. He's going to make the plays that we need them to make. So together, they're a really nice tandem to have in the field.
Praise from the safeties on Bowen Phelps and Bryce Cleaves. What have you been impressed with how they've done this fall?
I'll tell you what, man, Bryce. So you guys all know Bryce. He's been here. He's played in some football games. He's done a really good job. He's become the guy where no one has an issue with putting Bryce in the football game. He's done a great job all camp, special teams and defense. But we kind of knew that he would be who he is. He's a solid player. He's a good football player. Bowen Phelps, on the other hand, kind of came a little bit spring ball. You saw it. And then fall camp, you're like, whoa, where'd this guy come from? He's done a heck of a job. And right now we feel like we can play him in a lot of different spots. He's going to be starting on special teams, but he will play on defense this year. Not guaranteeing how much or when and why, but he will play on defense this year. And that's a heck of a deal for a walk-on guy that's coming into his redshirt freshman year.
And, you watched the games from last weekend, a team that didn't tackle very well, struggled. And you talked about needing to get better tackling. It's a little bit of an unknown going into game one, but how do you feel like the tackling's improved and ready to go on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's improved. I was happy with where we were in spring. Scrimmage 1, I didn't think we tackled as well as we need to. Scrimmage 2, we cleaned that up. And we're going to work hard on that, even continuing this week. Like, the hay is not in the barn. The prep is not over for us. And some of the mental work we're sharpening up, but we need to get those tackles in. So we're going to have to tackle live a little bit. That's not going to be a crazy. We're not going to get anybody hurt, but we're going to have to tackle live and make sure that happens because, as Coach D mentioned, you watch some of those games, teams that tackled well seem to find a way to win those football games. Teams that did not tackle well, it did not work out well in their favor.
Football itself is such an interesting game because you guys practice, you could say for 6 years for some of these guys, for 12 opportunities a year. With all the work you've played in, like how eager and excited do you get at this point just to see if these guys can go out and reap the benefits of all this stuff?
Yeah, I think for me, like, the practice never gets old because that's what we do. Like, we're trying to coach these guys. We want to see improvement for them. We want to see them execute something today that they maybe screwed up on yesterday. So that never gets old. But for these guys that have been working to show the world what they can do for 12 times, which, in any part of life, 12 things you've worked for your whole life to be judged 12 times is probably not fair, but that's the game of football, right? It's pressure. Pressure's a privilege, right? Being at Boise State's a privilege. But these guys are ready. They're tired of hitting each other. They're tired of, going up against Ashton and Luttrell and Mad Dog and all those really great players that we have, and they want to go see what they can do against somebody else. So I'm fired up for them to go test their skill, test their will against an opponent.
As much as you can say here, as defensive line coach and DT, but a guy like Ahmed, there's 90 plays, let's say. Obviously you can't have that field for 90. What's the perfect rotation look like for a guy like him to keep him fresh and at his peak?
Yeah, with a guy at almost any position where they're an impact player, I don't think there's a set rotation. It's going to be more about what's the number of reps where they can play concurrently, and then we have to get them a break. So there might not, if it's a 3 and out, like, they may not need to come out. But all of a sudden, there's the drives going 6, 7, 8. What's the breaking point? With Ahmed, it's a little bit higher because he just plays really hard and he can find a way to keep it going. But the heat's going to become a factor, the humidity, so we're going to have to be able to rotate guys through and be pretty fresh.
How do you best use Benefield? I mean, is he a line of scrimmage? Is he backfield boundary? Do you nickel him? How do you maximize who he is?
No, that's a good question. because he can do a lot, So one of the things, to kind of piggyback on your other question, what's changed in the system, we have added some things where specifically him, whoever's playing that position, we can get them in a multitude of different spots depending on what the call is, so we can utilize all their skill sets. So there's going to be some calls where he's close to the line of scrimmage, somewhere he's back in the post, somewhere he's in a quarter safety, somewhere he's in a fit, somewhere he's under pressure. With that becomes a big responsibility. He's got a lot on his plate that he has to operate, but it's not responsible of the D staff to not put guys in positions to make plays. So we've done a lot to try to get those guys in some different positions.
More about, just get back on that. How do you monitor that, like in terms of usage stuff? Because I think we all know with him, like if you leave him out there, he's never going to like ask to come out, obviously. So like, how do you keep it fresh or real or whatever?
Yeah, so I don't want to say the specific number right now because that's what it is, but through fall camp, we have the GPSs available to us, and we have a pretty good idea of what that point is based on the GPS loading. And we've kind of built it up, and we've seen now, like, here's what it is. And even if, like, to me, like, even if he can still go as hard as he can go, there becomes a point, and I don't even know what the term is, the science guys, Coach Hilgart, like, they know, but there's a point where there's some damage that could be done, or it's not safe for him to be out there anymore, and we found that point for him.
The guys on the interior, it seems like you go too deep on the inside there. What have you seen beyond that? How much do you trust those, that too deep as well?
Yeah, the too deep, I think we have the utmost trust in those guys. They're going to be ready to roll, and we'll rotate them heavily. They're to me, like, I know it's probably for two of those guys, they're not going to be the starter on paper. We have 4 starters at D tackle, and we're going to roll those guys like crazy. Michael Madre has come a long way to come in there and be the 5th. And then Lopez Sanusi as a freshman is probably not ready yet, but we're going to get him ready in case we have to go into a game, along with Spencer Gigg and Connor Workington and Trevor McKenna. But those are 4 starters to me.
I go back over time, like certain linebackers that really own special teams, whether it be like a Blake Reno or a Darren Lee, just guys that could wreck games. Who's the guy off your defense? I know sort of starter. Do you feel like might kind of embody or embrace that role where I'm not going to get 50 or 60 snaps on defense, but this is where I'm going to go get it done?
Yeah, and it's different now, right? Because you play so many more snaps on D, and even those starters could play on special teams. Like if you threw Tubes out there on special teams, like he could wreck a game on special teams. Right now, I mean, shoot, I don't know. I mean, Coach Collins has done such a good job of getting guys where they need to be. Some guys are good at kickoff, some guys are good, but like Bowen Phelps, I believe, like he's going to be playing most of the special teams, and I think you guys are going to call his name a lot. But there's other guys that are specific to, hey, here's a kickoff guy. He can go wreck this thing on kickoff. This guy's great at a pump block situation. So it's become more specialized, just like offense and defense. It's not, not like it used to be where there's a wedge, like you can be in the wedge, and there's a kickoff, you can go be the wedge buster. Like there's none of those kind of crazy dudes anymore that can just run rampant.
You've been the UCF time. We kind of joke the national championship and all. You've been a part of really good teams, really good defenses. What about this team? I mean, how good can this team be, Coach? You've seen a lot of them.
Yeah, this team, like our offense is really good, and Coach Koetter's done a really good job. I mean, that offensive line, to practice against that team every day helps so much, even when – there's days we walked out of there and it wasn't good. There's days we walked out of there and we got the upper hand. But to go against that every day will be such a advantage for us going into the season. I think this team, the sky's the limit on this team. And like the hard thing is like when you have players, mature team, good players like we do, it's Or do you listen to Twitter and everything else about how good you should be, or do you come in and work every day? Because the only way that this team's going to reach its potential is if we work every day. We got to work in practice. We got to prepare like champions. We got to eat like champions. We got to sleep like champions. We got to watch film like champions. If any of that slips away just because social media says we're supposed to be good, it's gonna hurt bad. So I think the ceiling is very high, but also we haven't played a football game yet. So, and we're playing two really good opponents right out the gate. I told the guy the other day, I don't even want to talk about the second week because it don't matter. We're playing an unbelievable team in Georgia Southern, and we have to get this thing right from the get-go, or else, it can go the opposite.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.